In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 college basketball games happening on December 5th, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 10 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 5 college basketball games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start: if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Gonzaga versus Kentucky. Gonzaga comes into this game as the group that feels settled. The scheme, the rotations, and the late-game habits stay in place from year to year. Computer rankings back that up. They grade the Bulldogs near the top of the sport on both offense and defense and treat this team as a real title threat. Kentucky sits in a different zone. The preseason hype said contender. The results so far show a team that still tries to match that idea on the floor. Losses to Louisville on the road, to Michigan State on a big national stage, and to North Carolina at home sit beside easy wins over lighter opponents. That mix leaves the resume short on ranked wins and long on questions. The Wildcats also walk in with rotation pieces in flux. One important forward is ruled out, and a key guard needs to prove he can handle contact again before he returns. Gonzaga, on the other hand, arrives with a cleaner injury report and a core that took real tests in Las Vegas against Alabama, Maryland, and a harsh lesson from Michigan. That mix of proven high-level play, stable roles, and fewer health questions shapes how this matchup looks, with Gonzaga carrying the steadier profile into Nashville. As our first pick for this matchup, the Gonzaga Bulldogs to cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Oddsmakers hung a big number in the high 100s and 50s on this game because the surface-level numbers scream fireworks. Gonzaga piles up points at one of the highest clips in the country and gives up a modest total on the other end. Kentucky scores well into the 80s per night and gives up about the mid-60s, with a defense that grades inside the national top 15. That sounds like a recipe for a track meet. The way these two win looks more like a slow squeeze than a sprint. Gonzaga leans on half-court execution and patience. Kentucky looks best on defense when it guards the first action, stays connected, and trusts its length. The recent loss to North Carolina showed how fragile the Wildcats can be when shots stop falling and when they fail to finish defensive possessions on the glass, with second chance points turning a winnable game into another setback. Gonzaga, fresh off a bruising festival in Las Vegas that included a blowout win over Maryland, a high-level shootout with Alabama, and a humbling by Michigan, now leans on a top-tier defense and a physical front line that are built to slow an uneasy opponent rather than fuel an up-and-down exchange of haymakers. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total, is our full game total pick. Cincinnati versus Xavier. Xavier steps into the crosstown shootout as the listed favorite on the board, and the setting fits them well. This is their own floor at Cinta's center, their rims, their student section, and a rivalry run that has reached 10 straight wins over Cincinnati in this building. The Musketeers bring a record of 6-3, with 5-1 at home, and they treat this court as a familiar workshop where the details stay the same from night to night. Cincinnati arrives at 6-2, yet every game on that record has come at home or on neutral courts, so this night gives the Bearcats a first true road game with the entire city watching. Xavier's offense has taken shape under the new coaching staff with a simple plan: spread the ball, let guards and forwards share the scoring load, and trust that someone will break open a possession when the defense tilts. That plan showed in the win over St. Francis, when Roddy Anderson III finished with 28 points in a 96-74 result. And the larger pattern is that different Musketeers can carry the box score on different nights. Cincinnati brings a physical, structured defense and a revamped rotation that can slow tempo and contest space, yet they walk into a hostile gym for the first time this season against a group that understands this rivalry rhythm and plays into it. As our first pick for this matchup, the Xavier Musketeers to cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Odds makers set the projected total around 144.5, right in the overlap of how these two teams have played so far. Xavier games sit in a higher scoring range, with the Musketeers scoring about 78.7 points per game and allowing about 72.8, which places their typical combined total in the low 150s. Cincinnati results land a bit lower, around 75.5 scored and 63.4 allowed, which keeps many Bearcats games in the high 130s. Recent form adds extra context. Xavier's last 3 outings finished at 170 points against St. Francis, 155 against Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and 146 against West Virginia, which shows how fast a Musketeers game can rise once the floor opens and both teams trade possessions. Cincinnati took part in a shootout of its own with 94 points against Western Carolina, and the Bearcats have used volume from the 3-point line in wins over NCAA and Tarleton State when the offense found rhythm and the spacing held across the arc. The spread stays tight, which keeps extended late-game sequences and foul situations in play, and both staffs can roll out lineups with multiple shooters and modern spacing that can turn a half-court possession into a run of quick-scoring trips. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. UAB versus Drake. Drake comes in as the home favorite, fresh off that blowout of Western Illinois where the Bulldogs reigned in threes and put triple digits on the Knapp Center scoreboard. Odds makers respect that surge, so the spread sits around 2 points with a total in the mid to high 140s, depending on the book. Strip away the noise from one huge win and you see two teams at 6-3 whose profiles sit closer than that short line hints. UAB leans into a high-scoring identity, plays through the glass, and crashes the offensive boards hard enough to sit among the better second-chance teams in the country, and their pressure creates a steady stream of steals that turn into easy runouts when they hit their stride. Drake under its new coach prefers a slower, more measured pace, trusts its half-court sets, and relies on spacing and shot-making instead of track-meet possessions. That contrast puts real weight on which style shows up more often, UAB pressure and extra shots or Drake control in the half-court. As our first pick for this matchup, the UAB Blazers to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Drake likes a slow and careful game, yet the Bulldogs still post strong offensive numbers, scoring around 81 points per night on efficient shooting from the field, from deep, and from the stripe while holding opponents in the mid-60s. UAB leans the other way, plays fast, scores north of 75 a game, and pushes the pace with offensive rebounds and live ball turnovers that turn half-court sets into open floor chances. Put those two profiles under a number in the mid-40s, add the memory of Drake pouring in more than 100 points at home, and you get a setup where pace control, shot making, and the usual late game whistles all have a real chance to shape how high this score climbs. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. East Texas A&M versus Connecticut. East Texas A&M walks into Gamble as the visitor. Connecticut brings recent national titles and a top 5 profile. The Huskies began the season with a 7-1-0 mark after a landmark road win at Kansas. On the surface, it looks simple, a power program at home against a newer division a name. East Texas A&M comes in at 4-3-0 and rides a 3-game win streak. The Lions just finished a 2-0 run at the Fairleigh Dickinson University Classic, with comfortable wins over Fairleigh Dickinson University and Army that pushed the program above the 500 mark for the first time in its Division I era. For Connecticut, this game sits between headline dates with Illinois, Kansas, and other high-profile opponents, so the matchup can function as a chance to test different combinations, manage minutes, and guard against injury. For the Lions, the trip looks very different, a night that can sit on the locker room wall as a measuring stick for the roster and the staff. You get a hungry mid-major group that plays with pace, spacing, and confidence, stepping into a building where the home team has to guard against a natural emotional letdown after a big win. As our first pick for this matchup, the East Texas A&M Lions to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. East Texas A&M scores about 83 points per game and gives up around 69, so its results tend to land in the low 100s. The Lions lean on the 3-point line and run an offense offense that sits in the upper third of the country in efficiency. Connecticut scores just under 80 points per game this season and returns to Gamble, a home floor where the Huskies let their offense flow against many mid-major visitors. The rhythm in that building often favors movement, spacing, and early offense. Another layer comes from the whistle. Connecticut has improved its foul rate but still plays a style where trips to the stripe matter. The Huskies sit around the low 70s in free throw percentage, and opponents convert well enough that free throws can stack points while the clock is stopped when the game turns physical. Put a high-energy underdog that fires from deep on the same court as an established favorite that can answer with scoring runs, and the ingredients point to a game that favors tempo and shot-making rather than a slow, grinding half-court contest. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Notre Dame versus TCU. Notre Dame walks into Fort Worth with some confidence after its comeback win over a previously unbeaten Missouri group in the Atlantic Coast Conference and Southeastern Conference Challenge at home in South Bend. That victory came in a familiar gym, with friendly rims and a routine game day. This trip looks different. The Irish sit at 6-3 overall, and they have protected their home floor, but they still search for a first win in a true road game after one loss away and two more on neutral courts. Across from them, TCU returns from San Diego with the Rady Children's Invitational Trophy after back-to-back wins over Florida and Wisconsin, and the Horned Frogs ride a three-game streak into their own building. Oddsmakers see that contrast in setting and recent form and list TCU as a solid home favorite in the mid-single digits. The market leans on a TCU profile built around pressure, with a steals rate inside the national top 30 at roughly 9 1/3 per game and a turnover margin near +5 that flips loose, catches, and soft passes into open court layups. Notre Dame leans on structure in the half court, yet carries a slightly negative turnover margin, which can show up when guards face full game pressure and must handle each catch in space. Both teams list injuries among bigs and some wings, with a few rotation players tagged as game-time decisions, but the main engines for both sides remain in place, and the posted numbers on this matchup now reflect those changes. This game shapes up as a test of how long Notre Dame can keep the ball safe and run clean sets, and how often TCU can turn tips and deflections into fast breaks in front of its home crowd. As our first pick for this matchup, the TCU Horned Frogs to cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. This total figure lands below what you get if you only add each team's average combined score so far. Notre Dame games come out near 143 total points, and TCU games come in around 145, so the posted total trims a few points off that blend and points toward a game with more grind than flow. The Irish lean on a clear identity built on defense and rebounding. They hold opponents under 68 points per game and build a cushion of about 6 more rebounds per night than their foes, which fits a picture of long half-court possessions and firm two-hand work on the glass. That style can cool a loud road arena as the clock runs down and each trip turns into a search for a single clean shot. TCU reaches wins with a similar spine on the defensive end, giving up just under 66 points per game and sitting inside the national top 60 in scoring defense, with its best runs coming when pressure in the passing lane strips the ball and turns live ball turnovers into simple chances at the rim instead of asking the offense to sprint for 40 minutes. In December non-conference play, nerves still show and both staffs lean on sets that value each trip, and Notre Dame often slows the pace when it senses room for an upset, while TCU's recent tournament title over Wisconsin leaned more on control and stops than on a pure track meet. Taken together, that blend of deliberate possessions, strong defense, and a posted number already a bit low for these scoring profiles gives a picture of a game where every empty trip stands out, and the final total settles closer to the high 120s or mid 130s than a free-flowing shootout. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.